The story begins with a young man wakes up in a bed with a bandage on his nose. He sits up and looks at his bandaged hands in shock. He asks himself if he is still alive. He looks around the quiet room and then walks to the window. Outside, he sees a large building called Campus Medical Hospital. Many students are walking around the grounds. The boy is confused because he remembers the world being destroyed. He looks in a mirror and realizes he has returned to his university days 10 years in the past. A system screen appears in the air in front of him. The screen says that the power of gluttony fusion is complete. He checks a phone on the desk, which shows the date is the 16th of May, 2157. He stands in a room and looks at the glowing screen. He realizes he has returned to a time 3 years before the first Demon King appears. In the year 2160, a powerful being known as the Demon King Wrath appears. Massive purple tentacles emerge from the ground and destroy the city. Wrath opens the gates of hell, allowing other demon kings to enter the human world. The world is shown in flames and ruins. A dark silhouette stands over a pile of wreckage holding a lifeless body. Cien remembers losing everything in this war. Now back in the past, he looks at his open palms. He clenches his fist and his eyes glow red. He vows to defeat Wrath and stop the gates of hell from opening to change the future. A system screen floats in the air in front of him. It says, "The power of gluttony fusion is complete." Cien touches the screen. A status window appears showing his name and level. Although he is level 1, all of his stats, including strength and speed, are at 100. He explains that in this world, only 1 in 10,000 people can awaken special powers. A chart shows different classes, such as Star Mages, Flame Warriors, and Lightning Assassins. Cien is currently a student at the National University for Awakened Powers. The campus consists of several large modern buildings where students with potential are trained. Cien stares at a digital card displaying the Lightning Assassin class. He recognizes this as his class from his previous life. He wonders if he has awakened his powers early. He clenches his fist, and yellow electricity sparks around his hand. A system message appears that says, "Class change loading." The door opens, and a student named Maung enters. Maung wears glasses and a brown sweater. A text box identifies him as an E-rank flower chanter. Maung is shocked to see Cien standing. He explains that Cien was beaten severely the day before. Maung touches Cien's arm and notices that all of his injuries have disappeared. Cien looks at his friend and remembers that Malong died early during the future demon invasion. Malong adjusts his glasses and asks if Cien has grown stronger. He then suddenly remembers that a ranking test is scheduled for the next day. Malong grabs Cien and pushes him toward the door. He tells Ci, Chan they must go and prepare for the test. Cien and Ma Long walking across the campus during a bright sunset. Other students play basketball and soccer in the background. Cien looks at the crowd and says it has been a long time since he saw living people. Malong looks at him with a confused expression. Cien looks up at the sky and remembers a dark, destroyed city from his previous life. He thinks to himself that he must find a plan to rank up quickly. Cien explains that major guilds control the dungeons, making it hard for others to get stronger. Cien views his system screen, which shows 100 points in every category. He looks at a chart showing the ranks from E to S. He notes that most students never move past E rank. While they are walking, a basketball flies through the air and hits Maung directly in the face. Maung falls to the ground with a loud thud and groans in pain. Cien looks over and sees a group of muscular students sitting on some stone steps. One man wearing a black tank top and dog tag smiles mockingly at them. He tells them he is surprised they recovered so quickly from their previous injuries. He tells his friends that the two boys can endure a lot of pain. The leader looks down with a smug expression and asks why they did not bring him cases of drinks. Malong bows his head and offers to go buy the drinks immediately. Cien stands calmly with one hand in his pocket. He stops Malong and tells him it is not his fault. He states that the bullies are the ones who should be apologizing. As he stares at the group, his memories from the past begin to return. The student holds Cien's head underwater in a sink. Cien struggles and gasps for air. Maung sits on the floor nearby, looking terrified. He reaches out a hand and begs the bullies to stop. The leader smiles and claims he is trying to help Cien awaken his dormant powers. The other students stand in the doorway and laugh. Cien loses consciousness and falls to the floor. The bullies lose interest and walk out of the room, leaving him there. Maung rushes to Sek Cien's side and calls out his name. Cien reflects on the cruelty he experienced from other humans. The scene shifts back to the present day on the campus. Gongqing looks at Cien with a confused expression. Malong trembles and cries behind him. Gongqing activates his power and his right arm transforms into a glowing green stone. He is an E-rank flower warrior. Cien stares back with glowing red eyes. He thinks to himself that Gongqing only bullies people because his older brother is the student council president. A group of students watches the fight from a distance. They point at Xian and Mao, calling them the most useless students in the school. Gongqing becomes angry and yells. He swings his large stone fist towards Chen's face. Xian stands his ground and raises his arm. He blocks the punch, creating a bright flash of light. The impact makes a loud sound. Xian does not move from his spot. Gongqing pulls his arm back and looks at it in pain. The students cannot believe that Xian blocked a hit from a flower warrior. Xian stands calmly while Gongqing yells at him in a rage. Behind them, Mao looks on with a terrified expression. Gongqing clenches his teeth and calls Chen a weakling. Xian looks down and watches as yellow electricity begins to spark around his fingers. He decides to test his new powers on the bully. A digital screen appears in the air, flashing the words, job switching. The screen updates to job switch complete. Chen is now a level 1 electric assassin. Massive bolts of yellow lightning erupt from his body, and his eyes glow with a golden light. His digital stat card shows his speed and strength doubling and tripling. Malong is overwhelmed with shock and asks when Chen awakened his powers. Gongqing becomes even more furious. He activates a skill called Indestructible Demon Armor, causing his stone arm to grow larger and develop sharp spikes. He screams that he will give Xian a killer jab and lunges forward with a massive punch. Xian moves with incredible speed, ducking under the giant stone fist. While low to the ground, Chen delivers a powerful lightning-infused punch directly into Gongqing's chin. Chen's punch sends Gongqing flying backward through the air. The surrounding students scream and hold their faces in shock. Malong stares with wide eyes and his mouth open. Gongqing crashes onto the ground and slides across the pavement. He looks up with a bloody face and yells at his friends to help him. The silver-haired student stands still, sweating and trembling with fear. Xian stands in the center of the track, surrounded by bright yellow electricity. Gongqing jumps into the air for a final attack. Raising his stone fist, Chen reaches up and catches Gongqing's wrist with one hand. Electricity sparks at the point of contact. Chen's eyes glow with a bright yellow light as he looks at the bully. He tells Gongqing that he is too weak. Xian then slams Gongqing into the ground with a massive lightning strike. The force of the impact creates a large shock wave and a cloud of dust. Gongqing's body bounces off the ground and hits the stone steps of the bleachers. Gongqing lies unconscious against the cracked stone bleachers covered in blood and bruises. Mao kneels on the grass nearby, sweating and shouting in shock at Chen's power. Sitchin stands calmly and looks down at the blood on his hand. He opens his digital status window. It shows he is still level 1 with 100 points in every stat. Sitchin realizes that while his electric assassin form is strong enough to defeat low-level enemies, his stats did not increase after the fight. He determines that he needs a new way to gain experience. Xian generates a sharp blade of yellow electricity from his hand. He begins walking toward the injured Gongqing. The surrounding students look on with terrified faces, and Malong begs him to wait. Xian ignores them and stands over the bully. His eyes glow with a fierce yellow light as he wonders if he must use the same violent methods from his past life to grow stronger. Xian holds a blade of yellow lightning to Gongqing's throat while grabbing his shirt. A blonde woman named Lingyu, the vice president of the student council, walks toward them. She tells Chan to stop, stating that the punishment he is given is enough. Xian looks at her with a serious expression and then lets Gongqing go. Gongqing quickly runs away from the area. The crowd of students looks on in fear. Some say they will never provoke Chen again. Xian and Mao walk away together. Lingyu watches them leave with a calm smile. Later that night, in a student dormitory, Mao is shouting and waving his arms. He tells his roommates that Xian has awakened powerful lightning abilities and defeated the gang. The roommates Shang Zhou and Zhang Yu are both E-rank awakeners. They do not believe Mong's story. Shang Zhou grabs Mao by the head and tells him to stop talking nonsense. He argues that if Xian were really that strong, he would not be out doing basic fitness training like running. They conclude that Mao was beaten so badly that he is now hallucinating. Xiangzhu creates a small, glowing ball of red energy in his palm. He states that he is a nucleus mage and the only combat class in the room. He looks in a mirror and flexes his arm. He says that Xian is too weak to be an assassin. He reminds everyone that the final rank test is tomorrow. In the E-rank training demon lair, a jagged portal of orange fire glows between two stone pillars. A man with light hair named Gong Ting walks out of the flames. Lingyu follows behind him as several students bow. Gongqing waits for them nearby. His entire head, nose, and arms are covered in white bandages. He looks up at his older brother. He tells Gong Ting that Xian bullied him in front of other students. Gongting looks down at his brother with a serious face. He promises to handle the situation himself. After that, Gongting and Lingyu sit at a large formal dining table. Gongting cuts a piece of steak with a knife. Lingyu explains that fewer than 10 people in the school have reached dank. She tells him that others do not have the same access to demon layers that he does. On the other side, Cien is running through a heavy rainstorm at night. He is wearing a blue jacket and carrying 100 kilograms weights. He is completing a 20 kilometers run. Sweat and rain drip down his face as he focuses on his breathing. He believes that a strong physical body is necessary to use his electric assassin powers. A flashback shows the world in the year 2160. Massive purple tentacles emerge from the clouds and destroy buildings. Chen kneels on the ground in the rain, holding his sister's body. She has been killed by the Demon King Wrath. Back in the present, Chen stands in the rain with glowing red eyes. He declares that his first goal is to kill Wrath to prevent the destruction of the world. His phone vibrates in his pocket. He sees an incoming call from his sister, Cien. He puts an earbud in his ear and answers the call. Cien stands still in the middle of the empty track. Cien's voice comes through the phone. She asks why he called her many times today. She explains that she was at a competition and her phone was dead. She tells him that if she wins a prize, they can pay their rent. Cien looks down at the ground and remains quiet. He thinks about how he prayed to return to the past. Cien asks if it is raining on his side and why he is silent. Cien smiles sadly. He tells her it is nothing and that he just wanted to hear her voice. Cien is confused. She says they spoke only 2 days ago. She says goodbye and tells him to wait for good news. Cien looks up at the dark sky. He turns around and begins to run again. He says he needs 3 more laps. He returns to his dorm room after 8 hours in the past. Chen stands in the shower, looking at his reflection in the steam. He notes that while his body is younger and physically weaker than before, he is gradually adapting to it. Later, Sitchin sits on the edge of his bed wearing a black robe. He reflects on the difficulty of leveling up as major guilds control all the demon layers. He wonders how he will find monsters to fight and what the true nature of the power of gluttony is. As he begins to sleep, a red digital system message appears in the darkness. It shows a loading bar with the words system booting. Once the loading is complete, a screen flashes, gluttony system start. Chen suddenly finds himself falling through a bright pink and red void. He performs a mid-air flip and lands on one knee on a red watery surface. He looks up to see a massive dark tower covered in thorns stretching into a purple sky. He wondered how he arrived in this strange place while he was supposed to be sleeping. He looks at the massive tower stretching into the dark purple sky. Low growling sounds come from the darkness. Large pale monsters with skull heads and glowing blue eyes emerge from the water. A system identifies them as E-rank death hounds. The hounds surround baring their teeth. Yellow lightning begins to spark around Chan's right hand. He watches the monsters as his powers activate, saying, "Loading switching class." Chan realizes he is inside a demon layer. Chan completes his class switch to become a lightning assassin. His hair is messy and his eyes glow with a bright yellow light. Electricity sparks all over his body. 3 death hounds lunge at him at the same time. Sechin moves with extreme speed and slashes through the monsters with his hands. One hound's skull head shatters into small pieces upon impact. A digital notification appears showing that he obtained 3 death forest items. Chan thinks to himself that these E-rank monsters are very easy to defeat. He watches as 4 separate experience point notifications for plus 52 EXP. A large glowing level up banner appears above his head. SSS updates showing he is now level 2. He realizes that this place allows him to gain experience and increase his power quickly. He views his digital status window. He is level 2 and all his stats have increased by 5 points. He smiles and realizes he has found a dungeon he can raid by himself. A large boss monster appears behind him. It is a massive hound with a skull for a head and red glowing eyes. The monster opens its mouth to reveal sharp teeth. Chen turns around and attacks with yellow electricity. He slashes through the monster's neck, causing blood to spray across the screen. A notification shows that he earned 320 experience points from the kill. A glowing level-up banner appears. Chen is now level 3. A victory screen displays his loot. 18 Death Forest Fangs and 1 Death Forest Crystal. Sitchin checks his stats again. His speed has increased to 330. He notes that boss monsters provide much more experience than common monsters. He is pleased with how quickly he is becoming stronger. He stands over the body of the defeated boss monster. A red system window appears above the hound's head. The text in the window says, "Devourable." Chan looks at the screen with surprise. He wonders if this is the true power of his gluttony system. He reaches out his right hand toward the corpse. A bright red and white light erupts from his palm. A massive red energy vortex forms above the monster and begins to pull the body inside. Sin clenches his fist. As the red energy swirls around him, a digital message appears that says, "Finished." A card showing the boss monster appears in front of him. The card grants him a new ability called Frost Physique. This ability provides immunity to cold and increases all resistances in low temperatures. Cien is shocked to see that the entire monster has been absorbed into a single card. He holds a glowing blue digital card in his hand. He looks at it with a serious expression. He realizes that he can absorb defeated enemies and turn them into new classes for himself. This is the Demon King Lenu. Every person is born with only one class and specific weaknesses. This is an unchangeable law of their world. However, Chen now holds two digital cards, Lightning Assassin and Frost Cloud Warrior. He possesses two classes at the same time. He looks up and realizes that if he continues to devour monsters, he can obtain infinite classes. Cien looks at the massive thorny tower in the distance. He wonders why he was given this unique power and what the purpose of the demonic tower is. He suddenly stops as he feels a heavy pressure. The monster appears inside a large burst of purple flames. The monster carries a massive sword on its back. He speaks, saying it has been waiting for Chen for a long time. The government's ranking system for warriors ranging from E rank up to S rank. A vision of the past shows Cien being thrown through the air by a powerful force. He is covered in blood and groaning in pain. He remembers that reaching S rank in his previous life nearly killed him. Chan is tired and breathes heavily. He holds a glowing yellow lightning sword in his hand. He realizes his power level is only D rank. The monster stands in a sea of red liquid. The monster is an S rank boss with two large purple blades. Chan is confused because the monster knows his name. The monster attacks with a large curved blade. Sechin moves quickly to avoid the hit. The monster hits Sitchin in the chest, and Sitchin yells in pain. Cien lies face down on the red surface. The monster looks down at Chen and asks if he is still struggling. Cien is heavily injured. He looks at the monster and thinks that it wants him to submit. The monster asks Sechin to stay and guard the tower. It calls this a rare opportunity. Chan looks at the monster with a determined expression. He says he will never stay in this place. Suddenly, a purple energy blade slashes through the air. A large amount of blood sprays from Cien's shoulder. He looks down at his wound in shock. The monster becomes angry. It points its purple sword at him. He says he has been patient because Section is the only one who can enter this lair. Ghostly skulls erupt from the red water all around them. As Section stands alone as the purple light fills the sky. Digital messages on the screen show the monster's strength and stamina increasing. Massive rocks begin to lift off the ground and float in the air around the entity. The monster looks at Chen and gives him an ultimatum. Stay or be crushed into a pulp. Cien grits his teeth and declares that he chooses to kill the monster. Chen transforms into a streak of yellow light and lunges forward with incredible speed. The monster swings its large purple blades, calling Sitchin's actions ridiculous. Rocks shatter as Sitchin and the monster clash in the center of the wasteland. Chen watches the monster carefully during their exchange. He analyzes the monster's combat patterns. He notes that the monster has a 0.4 second wind-up time before every swing of its purple blades. Sechin observes the angle of the monster's wrist to predict the path of the attack. He leaps into the air and dodges the large glowing blade. Chen identifies another opening. He sees that the monster has a 0.2 second recovery lag after it strikes. He determines that the monster is defenseless during this short moment. Chan focuses his yellow electricity and lunges forward. He thrusts his lightning-infused hand directly into the center of the monster's chest. A massive explosion of yellow lightning erupts as he attempts to pierce the monster's heart. A digital notification appears above the monster, saying status paralyzed. Chen knows he cannot kill an S-rank enemy yet. He decides to use the paralysis to escape. He activates a skill called Lightning God, which surrounds his body in bright yellow electricity and increases his speed 10 times. He runs toward a small point of light in the distance. He believes the light is the exit to the lair. Chen leaps through the air, but the light suddenly disappears. He lands on the red ground in shock. A large explosion of dark purple energy erupts behind him. The monster reappears from the smoke. The monster tells Chen that the exit was an illusion. It reveals that this location is not actually a demon lair. The monster reveals its true form as the Purgatory Rakshasa, an S-rank 1-star warrior. The Rakshasa looks at Cien and tells him that he is the one who can bring hope. Chen stares back with wide eyes. He recognizes the monster's form. He remembers that Demon King Lanua had the same appearance in his previous life. In his flashback, the battlefield filled with bright orange explosions and streaks of yellow lightning. During the final battle of his past life, the enemy switched between many powerful classes easily. A third monster appears as a green vine creature with multiple glowing red eyes. Finally, a blindingly bright light appears in the shape of a person with many glowing orbs behind its head. The Rakshasa has the same large horns, skeletal chest, and glowing blue energy. Sitchin realizes he is facing a direct form of the greatest demon he ever knew. He realizes that this entire world exists inside his own body because of the power of gluttony. The Rakshasa smiles and praises Cien's intelligence. He tells Chen that he is worthy of the tower's secrets. A golden key with a large red jewel appears in the air. A system box identifies it as the SSS rank key of the void. The description says it is the only way to open the demonic tower. The Rakshasa holds the key in his clawed hand. The Rakshasa explains that the former demon king Lenu devoured many powerful demons in the past. He reveals that the strongest of those demons are currently sealed inside the tower. The Purgatory Rakshasa offers him a golden key. He takes the key of the void while asking why the monster is choosing to help him. The Rakshasa explains his motive. He says that the other demon kings slaughtered his entire race to satisfy their greed. He states he has waited an eternity for a chance at revenge. He looks at Chan and says that another mysterious person was correct about him being the only hope. Cien looks confused and asks who the monster is talking about. The Rakshasa points toward the massive dark tower in the distance. He tells Cien that all the answers he seeks are hidden inside. Suddenly, the Rakshasa begins to glow with a brilliant blue and white light. He starts to dissolve into glowing particles. He tells Chen to take his power and use it to make the demon kings pay. It tells Chen he must become unstoppable and open the demonic tower. It warns him that the demons inside are vicious and will not be easy to defeat. A dark silhouette of several demon kings appears in a red void. The Rakshasa tells him he must conquer and devour every one of them to reach the top of the world. The monster's head breaks into small, glowing pieces. Its last few fragments float in the air. The Rakshasa says that only a person with strong resolve is worthy of its power. Cien stands on the red surface as the monster's energy floats in the air. He raises his hand to absorb the purple light. A large notification flashes. Devouring level up. Sechin is surrounded by bright yellow energy. His level increases to 10. A victory screen appears showing he obtained 2 items called Roshace's Underworld Bone. Sechin looks down at his fist and says he will carry the monster's will. A digital message says devouring complete. A card for the Purgatory Rakshasa appears. It shows the monster is a star warrior with skills called Bone Grip Ruin and Triple Gravity Strike. Chen says he will make his enemies pay in blood. Back in his dormitory, a window with bright sunlight shining through. A loud voice tells everyone to wake up and get up. He sits up in his bunk and looks toward the floor. His roommates get dressed in the background. He looks at his hands and chest, noting that all his injuries from the previous night have vanished. He wonders if the battle was just a dream. He opens his system window. It shows he is now level 10. All his base stats have increased to 150. The Purgatory Rakshasa card and other loot are visible in his inventory. Cien realizes he gained 9 levels in one night. He contemplates what his current rank would be in the government system. His roommate, Xiangzhou, walks over and leans towards Cien. Xiangzhou has a mocking smile and mentions that Maung called Cien a powerhouse. Maung stands nearby, looking nervous. Xiangzhou glares at Chen and asks if he's trying to take over as the top student in the dorm. Cien stares back as Shizwa tells him the rank test is about to start and leaves. After that, they walk down the campus stairs while eating bread. He explains to the group that each rank is divided into low, mid, and high tiers. A digital chart appears showing that while most students are in the low E tier, the peak rank among current students is mid D tier. Xiangzhou claims he is in the mid E tier and is stronger than 10 low tier students. Malong turns to Chen and encourages him to aim for Dank to intimidate their rivals. They arrive at a large outdoor plaza where a giant screen announces the National Awakening University official rank test ceremony. A large crowd of students in uniforms has already gathered. In the hallway, 2 aggressive students shove a smaller boy against the wall. Maung recognizes them as Gongcheng's followers and suggests staying away. The 2 bullies suddenly begin to sweat and look very afraid. They bow their heads low to the ground and call him Big Brotherson. The roommate Xiangzhou and Maung watch this with wide eyes and open mouths. Xiangzhou is shocked and realizes that Maung's stories about Cien's power might be true. Cien continues walking calmly and does not look back at the bowing students. Suddenly, a man with blue-gray hair named Zheng Jian approaches Xian. Text identifies him as a student council officer. Zhang Jian smiles mockingly and mentions the incident Xian had with Gongchang. He reminds Xian that Gongchun is the younger brother of the student council president, Gongting. Malong and Shangzhua hide behind a nearby wall. They explain that Zhang Jian is a D-rank powerhouse and the president's assistant. They are worried that he is now targeting Xian. Zhang Jian leans in very close to Xian's ear. He tells Chen that he can smell the scent of a true powerhouse from a mile away. He then insults Chen, saying he only smells like a permanent bottom feeder. Xian looks at Zhang Jian and asks if he is a dog. Zhang Jian and LT, Unk and GT's face turns bright red with anger as he screams at Xian. His eyes are wide and his teeth are clenched as he demands to know what Chen said. Just as the tension peaks, Gong Ting steps forward and tells him to stop. He explains that he has investigated the fight. He admits that his brother Gongqing was at fault and deserved the consequences. Xian and Gong Ting share a long silent stare. Both look very serious as they observe each other. In the main stage of the National Awakener University, a man announces that the assessments are about to begin. He instructs the students to proceed to the stage in order of their ID numbers. On the other side, the silhouettes of two people are seen standing in a high-rise office. They look out of a large window at the ceremony below, wondering if any interesting students will appear this time. Lingyu sips tea from a white porcelain cup and looks ahead with a calm smile. 1 hour passes at the National Awakening University. The announcer calls for the next student, Xiangzhua. Maung stands in the crowd and cheers with his arm raised. Xiangzhua looks nervous but determined as he walks toward the glowing blue portal on the stage. Xiangzhua steps through the light and enters a dark room. Thick black wires hang from the ceiling and connect to a mechanical heart in the center. This is the magical core. The eye on the core is closed. The assessment requires the student to hit this core with their full power so it can absorb the energy. Xiangzhua clenches his teeth and yells loudly. He raises his hands as a large ball of orange fire forms above him. He shoots a powerful beam of fire directly at the mechanical eye. A massive explosion occurs and the room fills with bright light. They make a loud, buzzing sound. A digital screen shows the E for the current rank. The scientist confirms the student is E rank mid-tier. In the crowd, Malong shouts with excitement. He says the main event is starting. Then the screen shows a new category for potential. White digital lines flash and move across the blue display and stop to form the letter C. A final summary box appears. It lists the current rank as E rank, mid-tier, and the max potential as C rank. Zhangzhua is disappointed that his rank did not improve. He sits on the stone steps and puts his head in his hands. Maung puts a hand on his shoulder to comfort him. He says they will likely have even worse scores than him. The assessment results for the roommates appear on the screen. Xiang, Yu, and Maung are both E rank, low tier with C rank potential. Xiangzhua is E rank, mid tier with C rank potential. All three students look dejected. Suddenly, the screen flashes with a new result. A student achieves dank with bank potential. The three roommates stare at the screen with wide eyes and open mouths. Some time passes. Zhang Jian walks out of the blue assessment portal. He is laughing and looks very confident. The screen shows his result. Dank low tier with a rank potential. The roommates look even more upset. They note that 8 students have already reached dank today. 2 scientists look at a digital tablet. They're surprised because there are many talented students this year. Usually only 2 or 3 students reach dank during the ceremony. The announcer calls for the next student, Gong Ting. The student council president walks toward the stage. The crowd watches closely as it is finally his turn to enter the portal. They call him the heir to a powerful guild and the top student. Rumors say he reached E rank 2 years ago. The students wonder if he will break the school record. Inside the dark room, the mechanical heart thumps loudly. Its blue eyes wide open. Gong Ting reaches his hand toward the core. He decides to hold back some of his power. He wants to save his full strength for the graduation battle to make a bigger impression. Even while holding back, he plans to stay at the top of the school. Gong Ting and LT, Unk and GT's eye suddenly glows with a bright orange light. Outside, the digital screen flickers with white and yellow energy. The scientist with the mustache looks shocked as he watches the colors change. The screen finally stops and displays the results. Gonging is ranked as a high-tier D rank. His potential is an S rank. The crowd is stunned by the high numbers on the board. The crowd is cheering and screaming loudly. They raise their arms in the air. Zhang Jian has his mouth wide open and shouts for the president. People say Gong Ting is the first person in the school's history with S-rank potential. Ma Long looks very shocked and clenches his fists. Xian standing nearby was calm. The scientists on stage discuss the results. They decide to report this news to the higher-ups immediately. An S-rank potential is very rare and will be protected by the government. Gongning walks out of the portal area. The students around him clap and cheer. High up in a skyscraper, the headmaster asks Lingyu if she came to watch Gong Ting. She looks out the window and says she did not come just for him. She states she is more interested in Sec Chen's results than Gong Ting and LT, Unk and GT. Yes. The announcer calls Sec Chen for his rank assessment. Young Jian leans in close and laughs mockingly at Chen. He tells him to make his dorm look good and calls his roommates a group of losers. Malong looks angry and shouts back at the bully, telling him to wait and see. Sechin walks toward the glowing blue portal without saying a word. He enters the dark testing chamber where the mechanical heart hangs from the ceiling. The core's single eye opens wide. Chen reaches his hand toward it, his eyes glowing with red light. The graduation combat examination. This test uses 10-member teams. The team that takes first place joins the Imperial Guild. This guild is the most prestigious in the nation. Zhang Jian introduces a new student named Yen Lin to Gong Ting. Yen Lin is a low-tier dank. Their team now has 9 students who are all D rank. They plan to add Gongshang to complete the group. Gong Ting looks confident as his teammates cheer for him. Nearby, Maung and the other roommates look small and dejected. Maung looks at his watch with a worried expression. He notes that Cien has been inside the portal for a long time with no results. Other students walk past and mock Sec Chun, calling him trash. They believe he is too weak to even register a rank. Zhang Jian tells Gong Ting that their team is full and they should go to karaoke. Gong Ting agrees and begins to walk away. Suddenly, the digital screen on the stage begins to flicker with white lines. The letter D appears on the screen. Malong and the roommates stare at the board with wide eyes and open mouths. They are completely shocked by the result. Malong shouts with joy and points at the results. Gong Ting looks surprised while Young Jin stares with wide eyes and an open mouth. The board confirms Chan is a high-tier D rank. Inside the room, the mechanical core thumps violently and drips with sweat. A blue system message appears. It states that the core has an abnormality. The system asks the student to repeat the test because the results might be wrong. Chan views his digital stat screen. Every category is at 150 points. He realizes his regular body is equal to a high-tier D rank. He decides to test his weakest class first. A class change loading screen appears. Sin transforms into the Greyhound King. A white bone mask covers half of his face, and his right eye glows red. The rank on the screen outside changes again. It flickers and then displays mid-tier C rank. The students in the crowd scream and hold their heads in disbelief. Zhang Jian yells that the machine must be broken. The scientists sweat and wonder if there's a system error. The core inside the room thumps even harder. Chan realizes his other classes will be even stronger than C rank. He triggers another class change. He becomes the Abyssal Fiend. He now has red horns and glowing blue eyes. Purple energy swirls around his body. The mechanical core thumps faster and drips with sweat. Outside, a massive purple storm forms in the sky. Clouds swirl in a large circle and lightning flashes. The roommates huddle together in fear. They believe an earth-shattering monster has been born. The digital screen on the stage begins to glitch with colorful lines. A large yellow S appears under the potential rank. The mustached scientist screams in shock. He asks if there is another S-rank student in the school. Gong Ting looks toward the stage with a worried face. A red warning sign flashes on the screen. It says system error. A message states that the system cannot determine the rank because the power is too high. Zhang Jian screams with his eyes wide and his mouth open. Suddenly, the testing room explodes with a giant boom. Fire and blue energy fill the stage. The two scientists run toward the smoke in a panic. They shout that the core is overloading and they must check for danger. Chan's eyes glow with a bright cyan light as he activates the skill. Green digital hexagons appear over the heads of the surrounding students, identifying them as E rank. He looks at Gong Ting and sees a pink hexagon indicating mid-tier C rank. Sun notes that the president was also hiding his true power. The scientists announced that the ranking assessments are suspended and will continue tomorrow. Maung and Zhang were very excited and praised Chen for being a genius. However, Young Jin approaches them in a rage. He screams at Cien, waving his arms and getting very close to his face. He blames Cien for breaking the machine and wasting the student council's time. Cien clenching his fist as yellow electricity begins to spark around his hand. He considers attacking Zhang Jian. Gong Ting intervenes and tells Zhang Jian to stop being rude. Gong Ting then turns to Cien and personally invites him to join his elite team for the graduation combat examination. Zhang Jian is frustrated because the team is already full. He realizes he will have to remove another member to make room for Cien. He reaches out and places a hand on Cien's shoulder to welcome him. Cien quickly slaps the hand away and says he is not interested in joining. Gong Ting and Zhang Jian are stunned by the rejection. Zhang Jian shouted that their team is the strongest in the entire school. Cien looks back and tells Zhang Jian that he is too loud and demands that they never bother him again. Zhang Jian screams with anger and a small flame comes out of his mouth. Students whisper that he is brave for rejecting the student council president. Cien walks away with a calm look. Mao and the other roommates hide nearby, looking surprised by Cien's actions. Gong Ting stands still and watches Cien leave. Headmaster Yuan Long and Ling Yu watch from a large window in a high-rise building. Ling Yu smiles and says the situation is becoming interesting. She states that Gong Ting was born into a wealthy family and that Cien's rejection is a declaration of war. Gong Ting looks down at the ground. He wonders if the power assessment was actually correct. Zhang Jian stands next to him and looks very angry. He offers to fight Cien to teach him a lesson. Gong Ting looks at him with a stern face and asks if he thinks he is a petty person. Gong Ting then turns away and tells the team he is no longer in the mood for karaoke. He tells Yung Jin that his future actions are not his responsibility. Yung Qian smiles broadly. He is happy to have permission to act. 10 minutes later, a silver-haired student tells Zhang Jin that Cien has left the school to go home. Zhang Jin crushes a blue soda can with his foot. He looks very excited to ambush Cien off campus. Cien walks along a fence with white earbuds in his ears. He looks calm as he remembers the past. A flashback shows a group of warriors standing before a giant glowing pink eye. This is the monster Wrath. Massive tan tentacles with multiple red eyes emerge from the ground and destroy the guild. Sechin explains that Wrath eventually descended upon the human world. Back in the present, Chan stands on a crack street. He has a plan to find Wrath's location, but he needs a large amount of money to begin. He arrives at a large classical-style, white building with a sign that reads Mythil Monster Exchange. He enters the Mythil Monster Exchange building. He stands in a room filled with axes, shields, and swords. He places several sharp monster fangs on the service counter. A clerk looks at the fangs with confusion. Another girl clerk named Miss Lee identifies them as Greyhound fangs. The male clerk looks annoyed and dismissive. He explains that the exchange only deals with high-end goods for powerful warriors. He calls the E-rank fangs junk and walks away to the back of the shop. He tells Miss Lee to handle the rest of the order. Chan looks at his phone and sees a notification for 18,000. He says, this is enough money to pay his rent. Chan then raises his hand. Pink digital squares and purple light form in his palm. He pulls a massive, jagged purple sword out of the air. She stares at the glowing weapon. She believes the great sword is a rare A-rank item. The clerk mocks Miss Lee, stating that rank weapons are worth millions and very rare. Suddenly, a man named Ching, she enters the room. He looks at the weapon and tells the clerk that the equipment is not a rank or B rank. He identifies it as an S-rank piece of equipment from the Abyssal Lands. The clerk is terrified. His face turns dark, his eyes bulge, and he screams in shock. Ching Shi quickly walks over to Cien and clasps his hand in a firm handshake. He tells Cien it is an honor to have his business and invites him to the VIP lounge. Cien looks at Ching Shi calmly and realizes he is the leader of the Mythil Guild. In the VIP lounge, they sit on ornate green couches with gold trim. Ching Shi asks how much Chan wants for the weapon. Chan looks at him with red eyes and says, 1 million. Ching Shi is stunned and explains that the sword is worth tens of millions. Cien explains that he only wants to use the sword as collateral for a loan. He promises to pay the million back in 1 month. Ching Shi was impressed by the student's wisdom and confidence. Cien sits on a luxury couch and sips from a small cup. Ching Shi watches him and thinks that he is not an ordinary man. Cien offers to repay the loan in 1 month with 10% interest. Ching Ji tells Miss Lee to step outside so they can speak privately. Ching Ji adjusts his glasses and smiles. He identifies Chen as a student from the National Awakener University. He explains that the school's graduation exam is in 1 month and the prize is 1 million. He notes that the amount and the date perfectly match CCH Chen's repayment plan. Shinji realizes that CCH Shun is in urgent need of money. He makes a new offer. He tells CCH Shun he will loan him 1/2 million in cash immediately. He says there will be 0 interest for the first month. Ching-Shi stands up and reaches his hand out to Sek Shun. He says he wants to be friends. Cien listens silently as Ching-Shi promises to keep their discussion confidential. Ching-Shi smiles and asks Cien to consider his exchange facility for all future trades. Cien observes the guild leader and is impressed by his ability to analyze the situation. He decides that he needs trustworthy allies to help him eliminate the Demon King Wrath. The two men shake hands in the center of the bright office. Qingxi places his hand on a magic scroll, and a yellow, circular seal glows with electricity. A notification on Chen's phone confirms that 1.5 million has been transferred to his account. Qingxi asks what weapon Chen will use for the graduation exam now that his S-rank sword is being used as collateral. He offers to lend Chen A rank or B rank equipment from the shop. Xian says there is no need for a loan. He raises his left hand and pink digital squares appear in the air. He summons a second purple and gray great sword that is identical to the first one. Xian holds the glowing weapon calmly. Qingxi and his assistants are shown screaming and gasping in total disbelief. Xian walks out of the store, while Qingxi promotes Miss Li to supervise her for her good service. Xian takes a yellow taxi to the Chongcheng County long-distance bus terminal. He stands outside the large building. A flashback shows him in his past life as a non-awakened worker struggling to pay rent. His sister Sei Yun comforting him as they look at a bank balance of only $15.60. Sei Yun is shown looking at an acceptance letter from the International Central Art Institute before tearing it into pieces. She cries and says she wants to stay near her brother. In the present, Xian waits by the fence until he hears a loud shout of, "Bro!" He turns his head as someone runs toward him. Xian hugs his sister very tightly. She looks shocked and wide-eyed. Xian smiles gently while hugging his sister, Xian. Xian looks annoyed and punches him in the chest. She asks if he is acting strange because of girl. Xian laughs and picks up her large yellow suitcase. They walk together past a fence under a bright sky. Xian talks excitedly, while Sichen watches her with a calm smile. He vows to protect her in this new life. The scene shifts to a dark alleyway. Zhang Jian stands in the shadows with several masked men behind him. He looks at a map of the area and points to the path Sek Chun takes to go home. He tells his group to hide and wait for the right moment to attack. He remembers Xian telling him to be quiet. Zhang Jian clenches his teeth and says he will destroy Sek Chun so he cannot take the graduation exam. Zhang Jian and LT, Unk and GT. S face turns a dark blue as he pulls out a glowing jagged dagger. He calls Xian a poser and laughs. In the open street, Xian and Xian are walking home together. Xian drinks from a small carton with a cow on it. She asks if he's stressed about the graduation test. She tells him to pull himself together. Xian then starts singing a song about believing in yourself. Xian looks at his sister and thinks about how men form emotional walls. They continue walking home together. In a dark alley nearby, Zhang Jian and two masked followers watch them. Zhang Jian laughs and says it is a lucky day because the alley has no cameras. Xian suddenly narrows his eyes. He smells the scent of the student council members hiding ahead. He looks toward the dark corner of the street and sees their silhouettes. Xian reaches into his pocket and takes out two white wireless earbuds. He gently places the earbuds into his sister's ears. He tells her he's been listening to this song lately. Xian closes her eyes and listens to the music. She says music can show a person's mental state. Xian walks in front of her. His eyes glow with a bright blue light. Zhang Jian and a group of masked men walk down the dark street. Blue digital hexagons appear over their heads, showing Zhang Jian is a D-rank warrior and the others are E-rank. Xian continues to listen to the song. Xian remembers losing his sister in the year 2160. He was reborn in the year 2167. He thinks about how he has finally been reunited with his family after 7 years. Chan's face turns red with rage. Yellow lightning sparks around his head and body. He glares at the approaching attackers with glowing eyes and clenched teeth. Sitchin moves with incredible speed, leaving streaks of yellow lightning behind him. He lunges at men and delivers a powerful kick to one man's face. The second attacker looks on with a terrified expression. Xian continues to walk with her eyes closed, listening to the music through her earbuds. Xian moves through the crowd of enemies, punching and kicking multiple men at the same time. He dodges a swing from a wooden club and sends an attacker flying backward with a kick. He grabs an attacker's arm and snaps the bone. The man screams in agony. Sitchin then delivers a powerful punch to the man's face. The impact creates a massive explosion with the word boom. They sweat and tremble while asking how Chen is so powerful. He continues to move through the alley, punching and kicking the attackers. Zhang Jian screams in rage and lunges towards Sekchun with a jagged knife. He delivers a powerful electricity-infused punch directly into Zhang Jian's face. He crashes into the pavement, creating a massive cloud of dust and an explosion sound effect. Xian stands over the unconscious bleeding bully. Xian's eyes glow with a bright red light as he looks down at Zhang Jian and tells him that he clearly warned him never to bother him again. He holds a jagged knife to Jang Jian's throat. He tells him to shut up and threatens to kill him if he makes a sound. Jang Jian realizes that Chan is not lying and truly intends to kill him. Cien stands over the bodies of the defeated gang members scattered across the alley. He tells Jang Jian to remember every word he says. He warns the group that he does not care what happens to them, but they must never bother him again. He specifically states that if they ever threaten his sister or even appear near her, he will make them disappear forever. Sayun is still listening to the music through the earbuds. She begins to cry as she hears the lyrics. She wonders why the song makes her feel so sad and lonely. She feels as though her brother has experienced great suffering in the time they were apart. Cien stands on the street and hands a small red box to Cyan. She opens the box and finds a shining golden pen inside. She looks at the gift with surprise. Cien looks at her with a calm smile, but his clenched fist covered in blood. In the alley, Young Jin and his followers lie on the ground. They are badly injured and cry out for an ambulance. Later at home, Cyan uses the golden pen to draw in the air. A glowing pink fish made of light appears and floats around the room. Cien sits at a small wooden table and eats a bowl of ramen. He tells Cyan that he has already paid the rent for the entire year. Cien smiles and tells her that he found a good part-time job. Cien sits at the table with a gentle smile on his face. Cyan looks at him with an affectionate expression and places her hand on his shoulder. They share a happy moment together in their home. The scene then transitions to Gong Ting standing alone, silhouetted against the glowing water and swimming fish. The director of the employment office approaches Gong Ting to discuss the recent assessment. Gongwen looks at the fish through his glasses and confirms that Cien is indeed a C rank awakener. He points out that Chen is now the only student in the university with a higher rank than Gong Ting. Gongwen mentions that there is a vacancy that needs to be filled. He tells his uncle not to worry and claims he did not use his full strength during the ranking test. Gongning vows to prove that he is truly the strongest student. It is 23 at the National Awakener University male dormitory. Cien stands in the shower with water dripping off his shoulders. He reflects on the future. He thinks about the golden trophy and the $1 million prize money for the graduation exam. He also remembers his new partnership with the guild leader, Qing Shi. Later, Chan lies in his bunk bed with his eyes closed, preparing to sleep. As he sleeps, the system message Gluttony System Activate flashes on the screen. Sechin suddenly finds himself back in the Red Wasteland. He stands before the massive, thorny demonic tower that reaches into the purple clouds. He looks at his updated status. He is now level 10 and ranked as a mid-tier C Awakener. He looks at the SSS rank key of the void glowing in his hand. He wonders what the interior of the demonic tower looks like. He approaches the massive stone gates and holds the key out. A blinding white and purple light erupts as the gates open. A giant swirling vortex of purple energy fills the doorway. Chan walks through the portal and finds himself in a new world. The area is called the Fallen Star Was Tess. Suddenly, Chan feels immense pressure. He is forced down onto his hands and knees, struggling to breathe. He groans in pain as he realizes the gravity in this location is 10 times stronger than on Earth. A purple beast called the Phantom Lion appears on the ridge behind him. The monster is a B-rank star warrior with glowing white eyes. Cien struggles against the 10G gravity, but manages to trigger a class switch. He becomes a level 10 lightning assassin. A yellow lightning blade forms in his hand. He leaps forward with his blade raised. He attempts to strike the monster's neck. A digital box appears with the word miss in large letters. The screen also notes that the vital hit and paralysis both failed. Chen's eyes widened in surprise. The Phantom Lion counters immediately. It lunges at Sek-chun and slams him into the rocky ground with its paws. Sek-chun realizes the strength of the monsters in this tower. He decides to switch his class to the Purgatory Roxasa. A digital card shows his new stats and skills as a Star Warrior. He uses the heavy environment to increase his power. He begins stacking gravity to multiply the force of his attack. The percentages on the screen rise from 200 to 600%. His punch becomes 60 times more powerful. Sitchin shouts and lunges toward the Phantom Lion. The lion opens its mouth. As Sitchin shouts and lunges forward, activating his super heavy mode. A massive pillar of purple and white energy erupts from his fist, shattering the ground into thousands of pieces. The impact creates a giant circular crater in the fallen star Was Tess. Chan lies in the center of the cracked ground, breathing heavily. A notification appears showing that he earned 12,000 experience points. Another banner flashes announcing he has reached level 11. He explains that each star on his class cards acts as a strength multiplier. His Purgatory Roxas class has 11 stars while his Lightning Assassin has 9. He realizes his classes are breaking through the B-rank power limits. Sin stands over the glowing purple remains of the Phantom Lion. The system identifies the monster as devourable. He reaches out and absorbs the energy into his hand. In the distance, a tall gate made of purple light appears against the starry sky. Suddenly, a small dark vortex opens in the distance as several pairs of glowing white eyes appear inside the black hole. For more, Phantom Lions leap out of the portal at the same time. Chan realizes that the powerful monster he just defeated with all his might was actually just a small common mob. One monster strikes Chan with its claws, causing blood to spray. Then dark silhouettes show the monsters biting and clawing at Sitchin's body. A text box appears with the Rakshas's warning. Once the door opens, what welcomes you will be endless pain. He suddenly wakes up in a bed, gasping and clutching his chest. He is covered in sweat and looks terrified. He sits up in the dark room and stares at the floor. He reflects on the intense physical pain from his dream. He looks at his hand and clenches it tightly. He states that there are no shortcuts to becoming stronger. In the Grand Auditorium on Friday, the 20th of May, 2157, about the graduation combat examination. Gong Xuan sits in a front row seat, drinking from a metal flask. The auditorium is full of students in uniforms. Several students are shown talking and whispering to each other. They discuss rumors that guild representatives are coming to scout for talent. Cien sits silently among the crowd. He listens as the other students talk about the high expectations for this year's results. Gongwen speaks to the students from a podium. The students raise their wrists to check their displays. A blue list appears in the air showing the team assignments. Xiangzhua, Maung, Xiangyu, and Cien are all officially ranked as low E rank. Maung screams in total shock. He looks at Chen and asks how his rank can be so low. After the assessment, nearby students point at Cien and laugh. They mock him and call him a loser. Chen stares at his wrist display with a calm expression. Gong Ting watches him from a distance with narrowed his eyes. He clasps his hands together and smiles. He plans to teach the students a lesson and ensure the opponents have no chance to resist during the exam. The students rush across the floor to find teammates. A large group surrounds Gong Ting, shouting for his attention. They beg him to let them join his elite team. One girl with pink hair yells about her healer class. A man with a headband shouts that he will be the president's dog. Gong Tang remains silent and ignores the noise. One member of the student council tells the crowd they are too loud and only have room for one more person. Half an hour passes. Several groups of students stand together. Their wristbands glow with green light, and a digital message says team formed. Chen and his 3 roommates stand alone. They look at their wrists and realize they only have 4 members. Mao looks angry and sweats. He says the rules require 5 people and a high D rank leader. He believes the school is targeting their dorm. Cien stares ahead and realizes that more team members cause more monsters to appear. Cien understands that the system rewards larger teams with higher scores, but also higher danger. He stands with his small group to face the final assessment. Mao, Xiangyu, and Cien, all labeled as low E rank. A student from another group calls out to Xiangzhua. He tells Zhou to join their team because they only need one more person. He warns Xiangzhua that staying with the 3 trash students will make him fail the graduation assessment. Cien realizes his group is about to be abandoned by the rest of the school. Xiangzhua looks down for a moment and refuses the offer, stating that his dorm roommates agreed to stay together. The other students laugh and point at them, calling them the loser team. Ma Long looks at a large list showing team statuses. Most of the slots are filled with green check marks. He sweats and points at the screen, shouting that almost all teams are already formed. He notes that there are no strong D-rank students left to join them. Cien turns his head and his eyes begin to glow with a bright cyan light as he activates his new skill. Gongwen sits alone in a dark office, plotting to protect Gonging and LT, Unk and GT's reputation by manipulating the assessment data. In the grand auditorium, Chen stands up and triggers his powers. A class switch notification appears and massive bolts of yellow lightning erupt from his body. His eyes glow with a bright, intense gold light. The director and the scientists staring at the display of power. Malong points at Cien and shouts in disbelief. Cien stands in the center of the room, surrounded by electricity that cracks against the floor. He explains that school tradition allows students to initiate a direct challenge to display their true strength. Cien glares at Gong Ting, who looks back with a cold gaze. Cien knows that defeating the school's top student is the only way to prove his rank and force others to team up with him for the final exam. Lingyu stands in the doorway and calls out to Section. She walks toward him and asks if his team is still missing members. She offers to join his team, mentioning that she was already a D-rank student in middle school. Malong looks very happy and shouts with excitement. The surrounding students whisper about Lingyu being a genius from her previous school. Director Gong Xuan stands up and yells at Lingyu. He points a finger and tells her she is not qualified for the assessment. He says she has never taken a rank test at this university and has no official report. He claims her participation would go against the school regulations. Suddenly, Principal Yuan Long appears behind him. The principal is surrounded by bright purple energy and streaks of light. He agrees with the director's statement. Gongwen looks back in shock and begins to sweat. Principal Yuan Long and Lingyu stand in a bright purple glow. Xian watches them and reflects on the principal's powers. He notes that Yuan Long is a warrior, but used teleportation, which is unusual. Xian's eyes glow with a cyan light as he tries to detect their ranks. 2 digital hexagons with question marks appear over their heads, showing that their power levels are hidden from his scan. Gongwen speaks about the purpose of the assessment and the importance of talent. Principal Yanlong looks at the director with a very cold. He says the school must be responsible for every student's opportunity. Gongwen looks back in shock and begins to sweat heavily. He realizes the principal is hinting at him and protecting Xian. Gongwen looks down and trembles, calling the principal an old fox in his mind. The principal speaks from the stage and announces a change in the rules. He says that teams with fewer than 5 members or teams without a dank leader are now allowed to register. Chen and his roommates join hands. Their green wristbands glow and a digital team-formed notification appears in the air. The roommates cheer loudly and name Chen the captain of the squad. The headmaster and Lingyu observe Chen from a distance. A scientist looks at his handheld device and is shocked by how quickly Sec Chen's team submitted their choice. The surrounding students scream and look terrified as they see the selection on the main screen. Maung and the other roommates panic, waving their hands and shouting for Chen to cancel the registration. Chen remains perfectly still and silent. He looks at his glowing wrist display with a serious expression. The school holds the graduation battle examination. Students form teams to go into a real dungeon. Students earn points for killing small monsters and the boss. They also get points for finishing the test in less than 1 hour. An E-rank dungeon has a higher score multiplier than an F-rank dungeon. The maximum possible score is 100 points. The winning team receives an offer from the Imperial Guild. The best student gets a prize of 1 million yuan. 2 students look at a digital tablet and seem nervous. 1 student has freckles and the other student sweats. They say the highest score in school history is 90 points. They think a team needs at least 3 strong D-rank students to survive an E-rank dungeon. Gong Ting sits with his large elite team. They look very confident. A notification appears on the screen. A student with glasses looks at the display in shock. He tells the crowd that a team has already chosen their dungeon. He zooms in on the screen and realizes it is Chen's team. The display shows 3 difficulty levels, F, E, and D. Chen's profile picture is inside the D-rank box. The student is terrified because no student has ever beaten a D-rank dungeon before. Malong grabs Chen's arm and screams his face, asking if he knows what he just did. Xiang's sits on the floor, crying and holding his head in his hands. He is horrified to be on the same team as Section. A notification appears on a student's wrist device. It asks for confirmation to join a D-rank dungeon. Malong sweats heavily and looks at the screen. He leans towards Chan and shouts, asking if he has fully considered the danger of a D-rank dungeon. Chan remains calm and looks straight. He simply states that he has thought this through. A message flashes as the choice is submitted. The main display screen updates to show 2 profiles under the D-rank difficulty, Gong Ting and CCH Shen. A pink confirmation window appears stating that all team members have confirmed the selection. A system announcement confirms that Team Gong Ting has also successfully submitted their registration. The students in the auditorium scream and cheer loudly. The student with glasses has his mouth wide open in shock. The crowd shouts that the ceremony will be very entertaining this year. Gong Ting sits in a seat with his arms crossed and his eyes closed. A female student on his team smirks and looks towards Chen's group. She mocks them for trying to act tough. Gonging and LT, Unk and GT, S teammates laugh and point at Chen's group. They claim Chan is only looking for attention and that his team will abandon him. Mountain looks at Chen from the side. He notices a powerful aura surrounding his friend. He remembers that Chan used to be very weak and dependent on others. Mountain looks determined behind his glasses. He shouts that he will stay with CI, Chan, until the end. He raises his arm and presses a glowing green confirm button on his wrist device. Xiang Zua also raises his arm and presses the confirm button. He looks exhausted. He states that the difficulty of a dungeon does not matter because they are already in last place. All members of the team have now accepted the D-rank assessment. A system message announces that Team Chen has submitted their registration successfully. Chen stands in the center of the auditorium with his 3 roommates. Sitchin looks down with a serious expression and speaks to his team and tells them he is sorry. He explains that he chose the high difficulty D rank dungeon specifically to earn the MVP title. Xian looks at his roommates and tells them they are aiming for the top score together. Then Gong Ting stands at the top looking down at Xian. He shouts that there can only be one strongest student in the university. Lingyu watches from the side. She notes that she has never seen Gong Ting look so angry or determined before. The battle between the 2 students has finally become public as they glare at each other from across the room. Headmaster Yuan Long looks on with a small, knowing smile. Lingyu looks down thoughtfully and states that Chan choosing a D-rank dungeon is overconfident. F rank is 1.5x, E rank is 2x, and D rank is a massive 3x with a maximum score of 150 points. A red warning sign flashes under the D rank section. Lingyu believes Si Chen's team of 4 is not strong enough for this choice. Yuan Long notes that there is only 1 month left until the Battle Examination Combat Simulation Room at Inside. Elite students wearing high-tech visors are shown training against digital monsters. Blue energy and red explosions fill the room as they practice their skills in a controlled environment. Yuan Long hopes that Chen's team can at least put on a decent performance. In the school stadium, Xian stands calmly while his 3 roommates are bent over, vomiting on the ground and stares. There are only 17 days remaining until the examination begins. Mong is covered in sweat and exhausted. He asks Chen why they are doing physical exercises instead of using the school's monster simulator. Chen tells them that simulation training is not real. He explains that students will feel intense fear when they enter a real dungeon for the first time. Chen says that physical instincts will determine their fate, not theories drilled into the brain. He tells his roommates that they're training for endurance, power, and reaction speed to heighten those instincts. He notes that the benefits of school simulations are very small. He explains that only privileged people with high status have access to real dungeons for training. Gonging uses a bright yellow beam of energy to slice a large white monster into 2 pieces. He explains that rich students are born with power that others can only hope to have. Xian says that the graduation exam is their only chance to join the Imperial Guild and surpass the elite students. Malong looks at Chen with wide eyes. Chen clenches his jaw and his red eyes glow brightly. He promises his team that they will absolutely win the competition. 15 days before the exam, Chen enters the Starfell Wastelands inside the Tower of Darkness. He jumps through the air and fights a pack of purple phantom lions. A monster bites him on the chest, and another strikes him with a claw. 10 days before the exam, Chen leads his team in a long run on the school track. His roommates look very tired, and one falls face down on the grass. Inside the tower, Chen strikes a lion with his lightning power. At the same time, Gong Ting trains by slicing through enemies with a sword. 5 days before the exam, Xian does push-ups with a stack of heavy weights on his back. His roommates watch and count. 3 days remain, and Gong Ting stands calmly in a field of fire and ash. 2 days before the test, Chen stands on a pile of dead monsters in the starry wasteland. A system screen shows that he has reached level 16. Finally, only 1 day remains before the graduation exam begins. Xian has blood on his face, and his eyes glow bright yellow, and says the battle has now started. On June 17th, 2011, 157, it is the day of the graduation battle examination. Chen pulls on a black glove. He stands with his 3 roommates in a long corridor. They look more muscular and confident than before. A loud announcement says the exam has started. Blue light flashes behind 3 dark silhouettes on a screen. On the other side of the administration building, Headmaster Yuan Long shakes hands with a man wearing a brown coat and glasses. The man's name is Gong Lin. He is the leader of the Imperial Guild and the father of Gong Ting. A group of students watches from a balcony above. They look shocked to see such a powerful person on campus. A white car stops in front of the school building. Guards in black suits stand near the car. A man with pink hair steps out of the vehicle. He is Carl Kendish, the vice chairman of the Global Guild Federation. He wears a long gray coat and adjusts his sleeve. Students on a balcony watch him and scream in shock. They cannot believe a high-ranking official is at their school. They explain that the Guild Federation is the most powerful organization in the world. Carl Kendish walks toward the entrance with a woman. The woman is Sigrid, the Secretary General of the Federation. Inside a control room, Director Gong Xuan sits behind a desk. He looks at a large wall of video screens showing different areas of the school. Secret walks through a hallway with Principal Yuan Long and other staff members. The principal has a slight smile as he leads the guests. They walk past rows of monitors to observe the graduation examination. Many people follow behind the high-ranking leaders as they enter the viewing area. Students face dangerous monsters inside the graduation dungeons. A student uses a blue energy blade to strike a large water serpent called Ling Yao. In a different area, a giant sandworm with sharp teeth erupts from the water near two students. Inside a dark cave, several stag spiders crawl across the walls and ceiling. A student with glasses looks up and trembles with fear. In the control room, Director Gong Xuan watches the video screens. He explains that instructors are standing by at the gates to intervene if a student is in danger. A giant spider looms over a student who has fallen to the ground. The student screams and presses a button on his glowing wrist device. A red notification says dropped as he withdraws from the exam. He and his teammates are instantly teleported out of the dungeon in a flash of red light. Secretary General Sigrid watches the monitors. She notes that only 2 teams remain in the difficult D-rank dungeon. She says she's looking forward to seeing their performance. Director Gong Xuan watches the monitor. He believes the students will withdraw from the dungeon quickly. The team enters the D-rank dungeon named Cloudwood Summit. A creature crouches on a large frozen tree branch. It is a wraithwing monkey, a D-rank monster with gray fur and long claws. Xian looks alert as snow falls around him. He tells his teammates to stay on guard. 3 monkeys fly down from the trees to attack. Chan moves with extreme speed. He creates 3 large slashes of blue energy in the air. The monsters are hit instantly and fall to the ground with a loud thud. Blood stains the white snow around their bodies. Maung sits in the snow and looks up in disbelief. Shangzhua is also shocked. He realizes that Xian just defeated 3D rank monsters by himself. Xian stands over a dead monster while yellow electricity sparks around his body and the small yellow blade in his hand. Chen's eyes glow with a bright yellow light. His 3 teammates stand behind him. He tells his team that their current strength is not enough to handle the enemies. He tells them to stay back and protect themselves. He then lunges forward as a large bolt of yellow electricity strikes the frozen ground. He shouts for them to leave the rest of the fight to him. A student on the ground yells for the others to watch out. Another teammate slides across the ice and screams. One of Sek Chen's teammates is thrown backward by an impact. Xiango finally realizes why Chen made them practice reaction speed and explosive power during their training. He understands that Xian never actually expected the team to help him fight the monsters. He concludes that the physical training was only meant to give the roommates a way to protect themselves and survive. He thinks about how he always considered himself the boss of their dormitory. He feels humiliated because he now has to rely entirely on Chen to carry him through the exam so he can graduate. In the background, Chen moves with incredible speed through the snow. He uses sharp yellow lightning blades to slice through a white furry monster. His fast and violent attack against the remaining enemies. Giant white bat monsters fly through the snowy sky. They have human faces and open their mouths to roar. Many yellow lightning bolts strike the monsters from all sides. The electricity slices through their wings and bodies. Xiangzhua says that as long as Chan is their leader, they will surely win the graduation exam. He believes in Chan's strength completely. He does not doubt their victory anymore. Xian's teammate watches him and thinks Chan is too strong for a regular student. He believes Sechin is a battle-hardened warrior. In a snowy valley, many yellow lightning bolts strike the small dark monsters. The monsters fall from the sky as blood sprays out. Xiangzhua asks himself when Xian became so reliable. He feels that he's been left far behind by Sechin's great power. A monster falling from snow. One student shouts a warning that another monster is attacking from the rear. The student raises his flaming arms to block the attack. He catches the monster's limbs as sparks fly from the impact. He calls out to Xiang Yu and Mao. He tells them that they cannot continue to act like dead weights. He declares that they should not rely entirely on Xian to win the battle. Mao and Xiang look at each other. They realize that this exam belongs to them just as much as it belongs to Xian. Xiangzhua shouts with a wide-open mouth and declares that it is their graduation assessment too. Mao reaches out with his right hand. A bright green light shines from his palm. He agrees with Xiangzhua and LT, Unk and GT, S words. Mao stands firmly in the snow and activates a skill called Florachant Vinilock. Many long, dark vines erupt from his glowing green hand and spread across the area. He yells for the monsters to taste his power. The vines lunge through the air and wrap tightly around a white monster's head and neck. The monster screams SKI as it tears through the dark vines and breaks free. Xiangzhua is thrown backward by a sudden blast of light and energy. He looks at the monster and his hand glows with a bright green light. He shouts that the monster broke through his trap instantly. Manga activates a new skill called Cloud Chant Frost Breeze. A wave of cold blue air hits the monster and begins to freeze its body in blocks of ice. Manga reaches out with a glowing blue hand and tells Shanyu that the monster is now vulnerable. He yells for them to attack together. Shanyu clenches his right fist, which glows with a powerful green aura. He looks at the frozen beast and says that the monster will not be able to escape this time. Malong and Shang, you combine their powers to trap the enemy. They use a combo skill called Frost Breeze and Vine Lock. The white monster is encased in large blocks of ice and wrapped tightly in thick green vines. Malong and Xiang, you look toward their teammate and shout for Xiang Zhua to attack. Now Xiang Zhua is the team's nuclear mage, runs forward and holds a ball of swirling orange fire in his right hand. He pulls his arm back and throws a massive fire projectile at the trapped monster. He yells for the monster to taste his power. A large title identifies the move as Burst Flame Bullet. The giant ball of fire streaks through the air toward the frozen beast with great force. The massive fireball hits the monster directly. The monster is engulfed in flames, and its white fur begins to burn. He crouches low and creates 3 smaller glowing fire bullets around his body. He shoots all 3 projectiles at the same time. He shouts that the beast is much more tanky than he expected. The fire bullets streak through the air and hit the monster's chest and wings. Each hit creates a new explosion. Xiangyu reaches out his hand as green light glows from his palm. He shouts that he can no longer hold the monster back. Next to him, Malong looks very stressed as blue energy sparks around his hand. He grits his teeth and yells that he has reached his limit. High above them, Zhua jumps into the air against a dark red sky. He holds a massive swirling sphere of orange and white fire above his head. He shouts that he is going all out. His eyes glow with a bright red light. He opens his mouth wide and screams that this is his final attack. Zhang Zui uses his ultimate skill called Converged Burst Flame Bullet. He falls from the red sky toward the target. A massive explosion of fire and orange light fills the screen, and the impact shakes the ground. A small drone states that the team successfully killed a ghost bat monster. The 3 roommates lie on the ground covered in black smoke and dust. They look very tired, but they are smiling. Mao shouts that they actually did it.